Thank you very much, Craig. And Craig certainly mentioned a number of the big megatrends that the CSIRO Futures team has been working on. And I'm sure there are others that your organisations might have been working on as well. And if we can put all of those together, perhaps we can, paint a bit of a scene of what the future might be like. But what do these trends and what does the identification of technology that dramatically changes a business function mean with respect to commercialisation? Because at the end of the day, we can sit and pontificate about all these different sorts of things, but what does it mean? What does it mean in your business that you're in, and how can you commercialise it? So what I'm going to talk about is the importance of tracking trends and technology, how to use those trackings as part of your standard strategic analysis tools you should be using in any business, what's important about picking the options that actually build on the core competencies that you have in your business, and I'll give you some examples. And as well as that, I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of the Hunter Founders Forum and where I see the Hunter Region's innovation community is at the moment. So first of all, if we have a look at tracking trends and technology, it's really important to understand the demand drivers in your business. If you don't actually understand what drives the demands for your products and services, then knowing certain trends doesn't help you. You've actually got to start linking in some of these demographic, government policy and technology trends into your business and understand what are the lead indicators, what are the true demand drivers that then might drive demand for your products and services. From that, you've got to regularly track key information. You've actually got to start looking, and this doesn't matter whether you're a great big business right down to a small business. You've got to start tracking some information that might give you some lead as to what's going to happen to demand for your product and services and how you might have to change the nature to some extent of your products and services to fit in with those trends. You've got to conduct technology reviews. You've actually got to look at whatever industry you're in or business you're in, what are the range of possible technologies and what does it actually mean? And you've got to do it yourself and perhaps get other people from your industry or people with expertise to help you so that you understand a trend that might suddenly become dysfunctional in the sense that it will totally change your business function, or as Craig said, disruptive, which means there's suddenly widespread application. You have to understand technology break-evens. So you have to actually understand the process steps in your business and where a technology might have an impact on that process step and change the cost curve. So you have to have a true handle on your cost, and when you look at competitive technology, you have to have some feel for the cost of that technology, because at a point there's a break-even point. Until you get to that break-even point, there will not be any widespread use of something new. And most importantly, as a business, you have to understand your supply chain. You have to think about what's happening with the various inputs, the supplies that feed into your business and what trends are occurring that impact on them, what's happening in the operation itself and any transport that's around that, what's happening to your customers and what's happening to your customer's customer. Because it's only when you truly understand the nature of that supply chain you can start to see where changes in demographics or changes in government policy or changes in technology or anything else might suddenly jump a few process steps and change the whole nature of things. But unless you're aware of that and you really understand the business that you're in, you're going to miss it and you'll be a follower. Once you've started to track these things and do your studies and get a feel, you've got to build it into your normal strategic analysis tools. So, when you think about strategy, you think about environmental analysis. That's just what are the things from outside that can impact on my business? And they're exactly what we talked about, the demographic, government, technology changes. What are the probabilities of them occurring, and what does it actually mean for our business? And you have to think about that so that if it does happen, you're prepared to move, you understand what it means. If you think about the industry you're in and its attractiveness, the typical things you look at attractiveness are size, growth, profitability, competitive structure, market diversity, cyclicability and community risk. What are the things that are happening that might suddenly change the size of an industry that we're in or we want to get in so there's actually diverse competition, because that's healthy? What are the things that are changing that are going to lead to growth? Are there demographic or technology changes that are suddenly going to make the demand for the products and services in our industry grow at a faster rate than GDP? What are they? Because that makes an industry attractive. What are the profitability implications of certain trends that are occurring? Are they suddenly going to allow us to charge more for our product, or are they suddenly going to reduce our costs so there's a potential for greater profitability? That's attractive. What's going to happen in our competitive structure? What are the trends that are happening that are suddenly going to change the nature of our suppliers, or going to change the nature of our competitors, or going to change the nature of our customers, that suddenly changes the competitive structure in a way that either makes it attractive or not attractive for us to be in that industry? What are the changes that are happening that suddenly grow the diversity of market sectors that our products and services can work in? Because suddenly it's more attractive. The more diverse, the more opportunities you've got and less risk in your business. What is going to remove or create big cycles? Because too many big cycles in a business isn't attractive. What might reduce our community risk? It's not good to have health, safety and environment risks. So there are changes and trends that are occurring that suddenly make those less, that make the industry more attractive. So it's the standard tools that you'd use, but you think about these futuristic things and their input to it. Other tools that you use, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, you obviously look at opportunities that come out of these changes. When you do your customer analysis, you think about what's happening and how it impacts on your business. Same with your competitor analysis. When you actually do scenario analysis, you make sure you include technology scenarios so that it helps you move forward in looking at which way you might go in your business. When you start to pick options that you're following, you have to truly understand your core competencies. Strategy also looks at that. What are the underlying skills and technologies that can give you a competitive advantage? Sorry. So you need to look for those core competencies, understand them, and see how the trends can allow you to build on those. You need to look for adjacencies. You need to look for things that are beside what you're doing, that if you added it to, would suddenly grow your business. You need to look for technology-driven supply chain rationalisations. So you have to understand that supply chain. You need to look for trends that you can take advantage of. So let's look at a couple of examples. First of all, just within CSIRO, CSIRO's fundamental work is broken up into flagships. And those flagships are where we focus most of our effort. Two new flagships that we introduced that build on the trends that we've seen are the biosecurity flagship and the digital productivity flagship. The biosecurity flagship is about protecting the things we value from the growing threat of exotic pests and diseases entering, spreading and establishing on Australian soil. I'm sorry about this. I might have a try. So we live in a world where global trade is expanding and people are increasingly mobile. So we established the biosecurity flagship, which works with industry, government and academia. And it takes a whole of system view to get a comprehensive understanding of disease pathways. The digital productivity flagship, I think I'll just give an example of that. In one area, it plays a vital role in ensuring people have the same standard of healthcare within feasible budgetary envelope. It's all about making more efficient use of resources. And one example is remote provision of healthcare services over broadband connections. This means people don't have to come into the hospital so often, which reduces the burden on them and the healthcare system. If you look at an organisation that I'm involved in, which is Bradken, which is a steel foundry business, I mean, they've been doing that sort of work for, the foundries have been around for thousands, and in the last 100 years, the fundamental technology hasn't changed. But 3D printers made a massive difference to that business. They're used to actually create models of the various cast parts that we make. And they're also used for moulds, particularly for complicated small shapes, because they can twist and shape, and you can have extra different materials, and some can melt when you want to create a complicated shape. And so a modern technology has changed a very old industry and removed a few process steps in both design and in some instances manufacturing. In GPT, in the property business, online short-term space is because of technology trends. And there is now systems where you actually basically book a room in an office like you'd book a hotel room. Another example is in the area of online shopping. There is now 3D laser technology that allows you to, even with a person with their clothes on, tell you what their measurements are. Because the worst thing with trying to buy clothes online is that you never get it to fit properly. So once you have a technology that actually measures and gives the measurements, you don't have to buy a size, you do it according to the measurements. If I give a couple of Hunter Founders Forum examples of groups, excuse me, I'll give one group, which is a group that was angel funded, another group which was funded by the ASSOB funding, and a group that ended up working with CSIRO and getting some industry funding. The first group is the Crucible Group, which is a Newcastle-based company that's developed an innovative and efficient pyrolysis gasification system capable of converting most forms of biomass either into a combustible gas, which can be used for power generation or heating, and also it produces biochar. This technology has made a massive change. It's actually allowed you to take something that somebody might want to get rid of and turn it into something useful. And this is doing extremely well. It's gone through some good pilot plant right through now to commercial plants funded by the Hunter Angels Group, and is going to, over time, make a difference in that industry of renewables. Another example is Ocular Robotics, which was a company that had a highly innovative sensitive sight and pointing technology. And it had an acuity that was 100 times better than the technology before it. That group has received funding from the ASSOB, and our guidance helped them in terms of business investment and market positioning, and they've secured quite a number of military contracts. Intelligent Plastics was another idea, which is a company that invented plastic tags that change colour as food ripens and changes for customers to know when to eat or cook them. And this group actually partnered with CSIRO Food Research to develop some products that went into supermarkets, and it was also supported by the supermarket industry in general. So again, there's a range of different things at whatever level you go at, where through the planning, the organisation has tracked underlying trends and then applied them to something that they've actually commercialised. Just as a last, I just wanted to give you an overview of the Hunter Founders Forum. The Hunter Founders Forum was established in 2006. Its fundamental purpose is to foster innovation and investment in the hunter in order to diversify and grow the economy. The innovation community in the hunter was very small, and innovation was not commercialised well back then. And I'll talk through this diagram of the community. The HFF is a non-political, not-for-profit organisation guided by an independent voluntary board of successful and experienced business people. Since 2006, flowing from the Hunter Founders Forum's initiative, we've seen 2 angel investment groups established, an Australian Association of Angel Investors National Conference held in the Hunter for the first time outside the capital city, more than 20 innovation events held in the Hunter, many pitches from inventors to interested parties, a network of nominated advisors established, several events held in the Upper Hunter and Central Coast as well, the growth of the Hunter and Central Coast Innovation Festival, which is really what we're at now for the next couple of days, and several training courses held on commercialisation of and investing in innovation. And the beginnings, I think, of a successful innovation community. So let's have a look at the Hunter Region innovation community. If you have a look at this diagram here, you can see that part of an innovation community consists of a number of things. You need early stage funding, then you need the next stage funding, you need education and research around a whole range of areas, you actually need the innovation sources, and you need advisors. And pulling all these together in the right way at the right time might allow you to actually commercialise a couple of good ideas. If you look back in 2006, we were particularly weak in the early stage funding area. And so that means a lot of ideas never commercially got off the ground. I think now we can say that we're not doing so badly. We've got 2 Angels groups, Hunter Angels and Wrights House. We have a Slingshot Accelerator program, which is going extremely well. Crowdsourcing is starting to actually be something that happens, and there's a whole range of groups that actually support innovators at the early stage. If you look at that next stage funding, it's only getting stronger, but there has been since 2006 the introduction of sidecar funds that have tended to work off the larger angels groups or venture capital areas. Venture capital is still there, and eventually there's financial institutions. If you look at education and research, I think there's always been a lot of good work done on innovation and how you move forward. At the university, at TAFE, at CSIRO, the Hunter Valley Research Foundation's done a lot of good work on the innovation scorecard, and various areas of government that support it. But I think since 2006 that's strengthened and become more mature and a lot more focused to commercialisation. If you look at innovation sources, the individuals, existing companies, and so much comes from existing companies, the university, the CSIRO, Hunternet, Australian Industry Group, HBC, and a whole range of other groups that are sources of wonderful ideas of innovation. I think they're getting a bit more sophisticated, they're getting a bit more connected, and the networking has improved dramatically. And if you look at advisors, I think we've gradually grown the advisors in that area. And so I think we're getting to a community now that was initially, I think, a very undeveloped innovation community. I think now you would say that the Hunter region has become a lot more sophisticated. It's a lot more connected. There's a lot more of the players involved. We're seeing signs of commercialisation of some really good ideas. And I think we should be used as an example in Australia of a region that's effectively grasped the nettle themselves and gotten on with it and done some very good things. So I think what you've got to be able to do is not just stand back in awe and look at the changes, the trends and the technology that's happening, but start to think about what does that mean for business and how can we commercialise it. Thank you.